Previously, in the stand. 2 months ago, something happened at Project Blue in California. Within weeks, a flu-like virus, Captain Trips, swept through the world, killing 99% of the population. Now it's up to the survivors to piece together a new life in a world that has moved on. 3 ragtag groups have started to pick their way west. Nick Andros, a deaf-mute who lost his eye during the last gasping throes of Captain Trips, has met up with Abagail Fremantle, a 108-year-old woman in Nebraska, where him and Ralph Brantner, Dick Ellis, and the man-child Tom Collin, with half a dozen others, and all together, they are heading to Colorado. Frannie Goldsmith and Harold Lautner have connected with Glenn Bateman and Stu Redman, and they too are making their way to Nebraska to meet up with the woman they've come to know in their dreams as Mother Abagail. However, tension is brewing in the group, as Stu and Frannie have struck up a romance, much to the chagrin of Harold. Larry Underwood traveled alone for a while, until he met up with Nadine Cross and a boy, Joe, who doesn't speak. They have met others, and they are following a dream of an old woman in a shack in Nebraska. It is a dream they all share, all of them, except Nadine. There is another force drawing the survivors to him, to Las Vegas, and he goes by many names. The Dark Man, Randall Flagg, the Hardcase. No one knows where he came from, but everyone, even his allies, fear him. The pieces are all being moved into place, but to what end? No one knows. The man who was once Donald Merwin Elbert, now Trashcan Man forever and ever, beheld the fabled city, 7 and 1. Cibola, the city that is promised, the city of dreams.
I'm coming. I'll do whatever you want. My life for you.
His body a broken burnt wreck, as mad as a hatter from walking through God's frying pan with no rest and no water. Trashy began to dance.
Cibola, Cibola, bumpity-bump. Bumpity-bump, Cibola, Cibola, bumpity-bump, bumpity-bump.
Tonight, he thought, he would drink from the waters of Cibola, and they would taste like wine. And then he would find him, the man who would bait him across the plains of mountains and finally into the desert. He who is the Dark Man, the Hardcase. His were the armies of the night. His were the white-faced riders of the dead. Soon, there would be things Trashcan cared for very little. Shrieks and rapes, subjugation and murder. I will set you high in my artillery. You are the man I want. But also very soon, there would be a great burning. And about that, Trashcan cared very much.
Cibola.
The first dream had come to Trashcan Man in Gary, Indiana, after a mishap blowing up the town's oil tanks left him unconscious. There had been a blinding white flare, then agony, as though he'd thrust his arm into an active volcano, churning lava. He made it off of the tank in one piece, barely, falling part of the way and landing on his arm, smothering the flames. As he lost consciousness, he murmured,
Live by the torch. Die by the...
When the Dark Man came to him, Trashy thought he had seen him before. When the townies back in Poughtonville catcalled at him, when the sheriff had sent him to the nuthatch. All his life, stoking the fire inside him that was never going to go out. His was the face you could never quite see. His were the hands that dealt spades from the death deck. His was the grin from beyond the grave of the world. The Dark Man showed Trashy an America in flames, and a rough beast of an army, 10,000 raggle-taggle cast-offs, driving east, into the mountains, with him riding atop a truck filled with jellied napalm. Each person wore a dark stone about his or her neck, and in some of them was a red shape that might have been an eye or a key.
I'll do whatever you want.
I will set you to burn. You must come west to my city beyond the mountains, and all will be made clear to you. Trashy woke up then, and all around him, Gary was burning. It reminded him of a classic funny book he had owned as a child, an adaptation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. No time to waste, now that he had purpose. Trashy needed to move. And when he saw a few other survivors stumbling out of Gary, he thought, "Fools. In good time, you'll burn." On July 4th, the day Larry Underwood discovered Rita Blakemore had overdosed, Trashcan Man began riding at 10-speed. He fell off twice the first day, once squarely on his burn, which he slathered in Vaseline and antiseptic to ward off gangrene. On July 8th, the day Nick and Tom saw buffalo grazing in Comanche country, Trashcan Man crossed the Mississippi into Iowa. On the 14th, he crossed the Missouri. And, for the first time since Gary, Trash suspected God himself might intervene between him and his destiny. He was in Nebraska, and there was something dreadfully wrong. In Nebraska, at night, the Dark Man, his constant companion since Indiana, came to him no more. Instead, he began to dream about an old woman? Singing songs Trashly vaguely knew, songs the mother of a boy named Donald Merwin Elbert used to sing while doing her housework. He had peered at her, paralyzed with hate and fear, because all of a sudden, the woman would stop singing and
Weasel in the corn!
and he would look down to see,
Ah!
and then he would scream himself awake.
Oh, please get me away from her. I don't want no part of that old biddy, please. Oh, please get me out of Nebraska.
Which is how Trashcan Man ended up crossing 400 miles in 3 days, running mostly on high-octane terror. For Mother Abagail's part, she awoke during the night of July 15, just as Trashcan Man passed north of Hemingford home. Full of fear and pity, she thought she might have been dreaming about her grandson Andre, who'd been killed in a hunting accident when he was 6. On July 18th, southwest of Sterling, Colorado, a 32 Ford Deuce coupe screeched to a halt right next to Trashy on Highway 34. It and its driver were a sight to behold. Hey, you all tall and ugly. Hey, boy, what y'all say? The only thing Trashcan could think of was,
I like your car.
it was, perhaps, the only right thing to say. 5 minutes later, Trashy was riding shotgun as the Duke coupe accelerated to the kid's cruising speed, 95 miles per hour.
They call me the Kid, out of Shreveport, Louisiana. This here Beast won every major car show award in the South. You believe that, Happy Crappy? What they call you, boy? The Trashcan Man. So I used to light fires in people's trash cans and mailboxes and stuff. Did you? Boy, you sound crazy. That's all right. I like crazy people. I'm crazy myself.
Almost as if to prove a point, they whizzed around a bend and just missed slamming into an overturned Belkin semi, skimmed by the cab of the truck with a coat of paint to spare. The kid never turned a hair.
No sense being around the bush. I guess we're going to the same place. I guess you've been getting dreams about that boogeyman in the black flight suit. Am I right? You mean the priest, yeah? Spooky, ain't he? But he don't scare me. He's a hard baby. But the kids handled hard babies before. I shut him up. And I shut him down. You know what I'm gonna do after we get west? I'm gonna lay low for a while. Check out the situation. Check out the big man, Happy Crappy. And then, what? I'm gonna shut him down. Send him around Dead Man's Curve. Put him out the pasture and take over. You stick with me, Trash Man, or whatever you call yourself. We're gonna eat more chicken than any man ever seen.
Trash and the kid checked into adjoining rooms in a motel in Golden, Colorado. Kid, drunk on warm cores, was in a mood.
No electricity, no TV. I hate that. I love it that all shitheads got wasted. But where's my HBO? Where's my Playboy channel? Where's... You dumb dork. You done spilt your Coors beer. I'd piss Coors beer if I could. And do you think they're making any more Coors beers these days, Trash? No, guess not. You're damn right. It's an endangered species. I'm gonna ventilate your thinking machine for you being so wasteful. You believe that, Happy Crappy?
Trashcan Man did. He thought it was the end of his life, for sure.
I'll tell you what, Trash. You get you another can of Coors, and you chug it. You chug the whole thing. I won't send you to the Cadillac Ranch. Go on, every drop. And if you puke it back up, you a gone goose.
Warm beer gurgled out into Trashy's throat. He swallowed convulsively, and swallowed, and swallowed. When the can was empty, after a seemingly endless battle with his gorge, Trashy won his life back in one long...
Okay, not bad, Trashcan Man. Not too damn shabby.
Trashy was in his room, making his plans. He would wait until the little monster had succumbed to sleep, and then he would slip away. He'd had enough. And what the kid had said about the Dark Priest, saying things like that, even if you were joking, was like holding your face up to a thunderstorm and begging the lightning to come hit.
Hey.
The kid, a lot drunk.
We ain't done by a long shot yet. I know what you like. I knew it the first time I looked at you.
Trashcan Man suspected what was coming next. He suspected it from his long nights in the stir, and as it happens, Trashy was right. Mercifully, after it was over, after the kid had finished his business, sleep came. And with sleep, the dream. He was on a dark road, and very high. Don't worry, I will give you a sign. I will show you what happens to those who set themselves against me. Wait and watch, my good and faithful servant.
Hey, Pussbag, wake up. We got us a big day ahead. A lot of stuff gonna happen today, am I right?
My life for yours.
Sure hope you are. I don't believe it. I don't effing believe it. Get out of my road. You're all dead. Y'all belong in the boneyard. You got no business on my effing road.
Colorado Rocky Mountain High, Trashcan Man thought. I've seen it raining Chevys in the sky. And then he giggled.
That's it. I'm gonna kill you, Trashy. I'm gonna take your life. But first you gonna clear this mess for me. Clear all of? I'm not leaving my car. No way. No how. You get to pushing, Trashy. You push fast enough and maybe I won't blow your brains out. You believe that, Happy Crappy?
Trashy offered up a silent prayer to the Dark Man.
Come on, you wooden dummy. Get your back in it.
Pain flared in Trashy's recently burned arm. He knew that the fragile tissue would soon rip. The pain would become agony. An impossible task. The kid would get bored soon, and then...
What the hell was that? I didn't hear anything. Who's there? You better answer me or I'll start shooting.
The kid was answered, but not by a human voice. By a howl that rose up like a hoarse siren. First climbing, then dropping into a guttural growl. They were coming down the slope on the far side of the turnpike and crossing the median. The kid emptied his .45s, but only dropped 3 wolves. 3 of 2 dozen? More? Their eyes, Trashy thought. They had the eyes of their master. And his master. The kid just made it into the Austin before the wolves pounced on him. But that was all right. They could wait. Forever. Then one of the wolves was licking Trashy's burned hand.
My life for you.
The kid's face was a small white moon, staring at him in disbelief. Trashy responded the only sane way.
You're shut down. Do you hear me? Do you believe that, Happy Crappy? Shut down. Don't tell me. I'll tell you.
That was it for the kid. The Dark Man's lapdogs would wait until he starved to death, until he got crazy enough to try and make a run for it. The wolf was gently tugging Trashcan's good hand now, tugging him west.
All right. Okay, boy. Let's go.
By the time Trashcan Man made it through the Eisenhower Tunnel, his gray, ghostly guardians had faded away, almost evaporated. But it didn't matter. He had seen the Dark Man's hand at work, and had seen it plain, and he was too exalted to do anything but pray and keep moving. The beauty of religious mania is that it has the power to explain everything, which is perhaps why, and how, Trashy spent 20 minutes talking to a crow on the road west of Vale, convinced it was an emissary of the Dark Man, or the Dark Man himself. By late July, Trashy was speeding across western Utah on the I-15, which runs all the way to San Bernardino, and when the front wheel of his bike parted company from the rest of the machine, and Trashy was pitched over the handlebars and split his head open, he kept walking, kept shuffling.
Cibola, my life for you. Sabola. Bumpty bump.
And so it was almost dawn on the morning of August 5th when Trashcan Man, once Donald Merwin Elbert, entered Cibola, otherwise known as Vegas, missing a shoe he'd lost somewhere in the desert. He saw many things. He didn't stop until he reached the MGM Grand Hotel, or more specifically, the working fountain in front of the hotel. He could feel the pores of his body open up like a million mouths and slurp the water in like a sponge.
Cibola, my life for yours!
He dog-paddled around the fountain and drank until he was sloshing around like a filled goatskin. It had been worth it. It had all been... Trash fell instantly asleep and was soon surrounded by a trio of men. What do we do with him? Let him sleep. Flagg wants him.
Yeah? Where the hell is Flagg anyway?
You that anxious to see him, Heck?
No. Hey, Lloyd? You know I didn't.
Sure. I know you didn't. Flagg will be around soon. He's been waiting for this guy. This guy, he's something special. On the grass, oblivious to all this, Trashcan Man slept on.
Are you him? Are you? The big guy?
No, Flagg's in L.A. He knows you're here, though.
You'll get a chance to see him soon. What's your name, friend? Trashcan Man?
A name like that? I bet you used to be a trucker. I'm Lloyd Henry, Trash. I'm sort of his mascot, I guess. Welcome aboard the good ship Lollipop. As far as Trashy could remember, this was the first time anyone had offered to shake his hand.
Thanks, Mr. Henry.
Lloyd, brother. Call me Lloyd.
That necklace around your neck.
Trashy had dreamed about it and coveted it. Yes, guys who are sort of in charge all wear them. It's not really a rock, it's more like an oil bubble.
I mean, the red light, the eye.
You see that too? Yeah, it's a flaw, special from him. He can do magic, you know. Man, I'd hate to be the people up against him. Trashy almost mentioned the wolves and the kid, but stopped himself. You hungry for breakfast? This is our new boy, the Trashcan Man. Trash? This here's Ken DeMott. Fellow with the bald spot is Hector Drogan. That's our fearless chef, Whitney Horgan. And the kid, trying to grow something on his face, calls himself Ace High. Hands were shaking all around as Trashy joined them. There was a moment of surprise and laughter when he said,
"Would you pass the salt, please, Mr. High?"
But it wasn't mean. No. No one here was going to tease him about burning Old Lady Simple's pension check. Except, maybe, that Hector Drogan.
Mr. High. Always. You just been had, Mr. High. I love it. Mr. High. Man, that's rich.
Just Ace, my man. That'll get me every time. Trashcan Man nodded, smiled, and dug into his eggs, feeling warm and good inside. The warmth and goodness were so foreign to his nature, it almost felt like a disease.
Oh, Mr. High. Ace, you're never gonna live that down. I swear you won't.
Maybe not, heck. But I'm sure God gonna live it up. But it wasn't a disease. It was simply happiness. What a bunch of good people, Trash thought. I'm home. Lucy Swan had never been west of Philadelphia. Now she was spitting distance from the Rocky Mountains. Judge, have you seen Larry? Judge Ferris had joined their group in Joliet. In all, there were 19 of them now, including Larry, Nadine, and Joe.
Sure have, Lucy. He's off by himself. Same as yesterday morning and the one before that. These days, he's always up before I am. Listen to this from the book of Job. I am full of tossings to and fro, to the dawning of the day.
That's your man, Luce.
That's Larry Underwood to a T.
I know it. Now, if I only knew what was wrong with him. Everyone's in a good mood and healthy. We haven't lost anyone since Mrs. Volman died. Dick and Sally Volman had joined them right after they reached the cleared-out Hemmingford house. Sally had gotten sick, so they hunkered down for 2 days, helplessly waiting for her to either get better or she died. Diabetes, the judge had speculated.
Larry, it strikes me, is a man who found himself comparatively late in life. Men like that are rarely sure, and when something like that goes wrong, say, Mrs. Volman dying, they blame themselves.
I think there's something more. What was that quote? I am full of tossings and turnings unto the dawning of the day.
That's it.
Pretty good description of a man in love, isn't it? Before the judge could reply, Lucy was drifting away, back towards the others. She would talk to Larry later. Women know. Women almost always know. Trashy had been bussed up to the Boulder Dam. He spent most of the day wrapping copper wire around the spindles of burned-out motors, drinking in a glorious view of the lake from his bench. No one supervised him, and he assumed it was because everyone must be as in love with what they were doing as he was, himself. He was thinking he should get a large book and write some of his thoughts about him, the Dark Man, down. A book of psalms, of praise. When Ken DeMott arrived. Come on, Trashy, work's over. We're going back to Vegas, everyone. Buses are waiting. Huh? Why? I don't know. It's his order. Lloyd passed it along. Best not to ask questions when the Hardcases is involved. Riding a school bus back to Vegas, Trashy overheard 2 men talking. It's Heck. That drove him. How the hell does that spook find things out? Shut up. People can hear you. Trash averted his gaze and looked out the window at the passing desert. Once again, he was troubled in his mind. In Vegas, everyone had gathered around the fountain. More than 400 people, 6 and 7 deep. Hey, there you are, Trash. I've been looking for you. We need your help, and you're drafted. What, Lloyd? What is it? But then Trash saw Whitney Horgan and what he was guarding. What is this? I heard something about Heck. Go on, Whitney. Radio to bring him out. Yeah, it's Heck. He's been freebasing. God, I hate these things. We nail him up? Is that what this is about? You know, I got something for you. He gave it to me to give to you. I can't make you take it, but do you want it? Take this and you take everything, Lloyd's eyes said. And what's a part of everything? Why, Heck and that crossroad and that hole in the ground, of course. Trash thought, this is my last chance to be Donald Merwin Elbert. He thought, I offered him my life, but this is my soul. But, in truth, the time for choices had long since passed. He had walked halfway across the county for the Dark Man, and hadn't the Dark Man saved him from the kid? In for a penny, in for a pound, thought Trashcan Man. The stone felt icy against his skin, but he didn't mind it. Just tell yourself you don't know. That's what I always do. Makes it, Lloyd? Hey, Lloyd, what do you say? A little help for your pal Heck? Tell him to stop. I swear to God, I can get clean. Please, Lloyd, please. Hey, Trashcan Man, tell him to cut it out, buddy. Tell him I can get clean. Tell him a scare like this is better than all the rehabs in the world. Tell him, Trashy. Tell him. I don't know you. What do you mean you don't know me? We had breakfast this morning. You called the kid here Mr. High. What do you mean you don't know me, you chicken shit liar? I don't know you at all. And I don't want to know you. Attention, attention, attention. By the order of Randall Flagg, leader of the people and the first citizen, this man, Hector Alonzo Drogan by name. No,
is ordered executed by an act of crucifixion. This penalty so ordered for the crime of drug use.
Oh God, no!
At Lloyd's instruction, Tracy was one of the men charged with holding Hector down while Whitey Horgan nailed him to the cross. Drug use is not allowed in the society of people because it impairs the user's ability to contribute fully to the society of the people. Specifically in this case, the accused Hector Drogan was found with a supply of cocaine.
Oh my God, it hurts! Oh my God, it hurts! Oh God!
The cool stone against Trashy's skin reassured him.
Please. Oh God, please. Please.
This communication ends with a solemn warning to the people of Las Vegas. Let this bill of true facts be nailed above the miscreant's head, marked with the seal of the first citizen Randall Flagg by name. The crowd remained assembled for almost an hour, each person afraid to be the first to leave. Trashcan Man wasn't frightened, though. Why should he have been? He hadn't known the dead man. He hadn't known him at all. Larry? Room for me? Sure. By Lucy's estimation, they would reach Boulder tomorrow. If they got an early enough start, they might even make it to the Boulder Freezone, which is what the man on the radio called it, in time for lunch. The idea to find and use a CB radio to get in touch with other survivors had been Nadine's, and it was a good one.
This is Ralph Briner in the Boulder Freezone. Do you hear me? Reply on channel 14. Repeat, channel 14.
Penny for your thoughts? They're mostly about Nadine. She's acting like she's coming unraveled. Larry, do you know what I mean? Larry stiffened. He did know. By the time they'd reached Hemingford House, there were brown circles under Nadine's eyes from not sleeping. Her magnificent hair was noticeably whiter, and if anyone touched her, she jumped, flinched. She swears she's not dreaming, but last night I saw her pulling her hair and moaning. Larry, and when I asked her about it in the morning, she denied it all. She's lying to us. People can have nightmares, Lucy. They're allowed to. You love her, don't you? Aw, Lucy, I have to say this, Larry. I see the way you look at her, and the way she looks at you, like she loves you. But she's afraid. Larry remembered the last time he tried to make love to Nadine, a few days after Stovington. Don't do that again, Larry, or I'll have to take Joe and leave. Why? Why does it have to be such a big deal? If I could tell you, I would. You go on chasing Miss High Pockets, but you'll never catch her. And in the meantime, you've got me to do the horizontal bop with until the sun goes down. So what do you care? Hold on there. I just happen to think love is very important. Only love will get us through. It's hate against us. Worse, it's emptiness. Lucy, I love you as much as I can. I know that, Larry. It's late. We should get back. Nadine came awake like a cat 20 minutes after Larry and Lucy finished their act of half-hearted love and fell asleep. Someone wants me. There's that. Someone wants me. It's true. But it's so cold. Nadine's parents and brother had been killed when she was 6. They'd gone on a family trip and she stayed behind. It was all right. She'd been adopted and never felt like she belonged to anyone but herself. But she was the Earth's child. She went to live with an aunt and uncle in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. The night she turned 16 was a love night. And as a boy chased her under the moon across the dewy grass, she thought if he caught her, she would give him whatever prize he wanted. But he hadn't caught her. And that was the night she realized that she had to wait for her intended. Her dark bridegroom. That was the night, she believed, that her hair started to whiten. Where had he been when she was 16? On what streets? What back roads? What cold winds were his? She was only sure that he was an orphan like her.
that he was an American man with a taste for apple pie, and that his ways were the secret ways. After college, she rented a cottage with 2 other girls and buried herself in her work. She supposed they called her a spinster in waiting, perhaps even speculated she was a lesbian, but she wasn't. She was simply unbroken, waiting. Every so often, she would feel it. She'd be picking up toys in an empty classroom, and it would occur to her, a change is coming. A great wind is going to blow. And the change had come, and in her dreams, she had begun to know her bridegroom and understand him. He was the one she had been waiting for, and she wanted to go to him, but he terrified her. She felt like a prize ring in a tug of war. She knew her purity was important to the Dark Man, but she was also attracted to Larry. Larry, who was like an optical illusion, where the water looks like an inch or 2 deep, but when you put your hand in it, you're suddenly wet to the shoulder. As they moved west, picking up survivors, her hope that it would end for her without confrontation had gradually died. The others had been having opposing dreams. The old woman and the Dark Man. Nadine had never dreamed of her, and as the others stopped dreaming of the Dark Man, hers only intensified, as she started to know things about him. His name was Randall Flagg, for instance, and those who opposed him were either crucified or banished into the boiling sink of Death Valley. Boulder was her last hope. Boulder and the old woman and her people. They were the good guys. Playing over and over in her, like a dormant chord, was the belief that murder in this decimated world was the gravest sin, and the awful certainty that death was Randall Flagg's business. But oh, how she wanted his cold kiss. A shooting star scratched its fire across the sky, and like a child, Nadine wished on it.
You're dressed. Good. It's time, Trashy. He wants to see you. Now.
Goosebumps rushed out on Trashy's sunburned arms.
Where is he? My life for him. Oh, yes.
Top floor. He got in after we finished burning Drogon's body. 4 minutes later, they were in the elevator riding up. No one ever sees him come or go, Trash. But they always know when he's taken off, when he comes back. On the top floor, Trash stepped off. Lloyd did not.
Aren't you?
No, he wants to see you alone. Good luck, Trash. Trashy found himself in a dark, sumptuous hallway, and at the end of it, the Trashcan Man. How very good it is to have you here. Come closer. Let me take a look at you. As he moved forward, that shape, the air around him seemed to grow steadily cooler and cooler.
My life for you.
Yes. But I don't think it'll come to that. There's work for you in the desert, Trash. Great work, if you want it.
Anything.
I'm going to set you to burn. Sit. Let's have a drink and talk about it. And they did. And in the end, that burning was great.
I'm gonna have a hell of a hangover this afternoon, Stu. I don't believe I've stayed up all night drinking since I was an undergrad. Sunrise is worth it, Clint. Beautiful. You ever been to the Rockies before? Nope. But I'm glad I came. What's gonna happen now? Happen? Well, that's why I got you up here. I told Frannie, I'm gonna get Glenn good and drunk and then pick his brains about what happens next. Society happens next. People are coming in dribs and drabs right now, but there may be as many as 8,000 by the first snow of November. Write that down as prediction number 1. We suspect there's an adversary, a dark man that we dream about, west of us somewhere, on the other side of the Rockies. I think he's going to get most of the techies coming to him. We may end up with more people. I like to believe most people are inherently good, and therefore, drawn to good. But he'll end up with the folks who like their trains to run on time. I tell you, Stu, at night, when the sun goes down, I think of the adversary and his team. Busy as bees, getting the power back up, dusting the missile silos and tanks and helicopters off. And I get scared. Me too. We got to start getting our shit together, Glenn. Or we'll wake up some morning to find that Hardcase waltzing into Boulder with the head of an armed column, complete with air support. Not tomorrow, but maybe by May. So let's start getting it together. You talk, I'll write. We recreate America, by means fair and foul. Government comes first. We call a town hall meeting for everyone to attend. And before that, we form an ad hoc organization committee of 7, let's say. You, me, Andros, Fran, Harold maybe, a couple more. We set the agenda for the meeting. Like, first, reading and ratification of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. It's very important that we ratify the spirit of the old society ASAP. Go on. The next item will be that we run the government like a New England township, a perfect democracy, with 7. Call them Freezone representatives. And we'll see to it that those 7 are the same as on the ad hoc committee. Uh-huh. What then? We vote that Mother Abagail is to be given absolute veto power over the board. Whether or not she agrees, or will ever use that power, we can't expect to have a workable government here unless she's its titular head. She's the thing we all have in common. The people coming here dreamed of her. She's what makes us feel safe and secure. Mother Abagail was thinking about electricity, and about how Hemingford Home, with its pump and all, was better equipped to handle the end of the world than this fancy house in the Mapleton Hill section of Boulder. They would get the power back on, of course. It was one of the things God had shown her in her dreams. She knew a goodish number of things that were coming. Some from the dreams, some from her common sense. Soon, all the people would stop running around like headless chickens and start pulling together. She wasn't a sociologist like Glenn Bateman, but she knew people always did pull together after a while. The curse and the blessing of the human race was its chumminess. They'll want to form some kind of government, she thought. Probably. They'll want to run it around me. She couldn't allow that. Of course. Much as she would like to, that would not be God's will. She would insist Nick have a part in the running of things, and Ralph, and maybe that Texan Stuart Redmond. They might also want that fat boy she didn't like, Harold. The way he was always grinning, she thought he must be keeping some kind of secret. Some nasty, stinking thing in his heart. If that was the case, she wouldn't say anything. Her place in their councils and deliberations had only to do with the Dark Man. He had no name, although it pleased him to call himself Flagg for the time being. She knew that. Also, that on the far side of the mountains his work was already begun. She didn't know his specific plans. They were as veiled as whatever secrets lay in that fat boy's heart. But she was certain of his goal: to destroy all of them. The black man who, unlike God and man, was only able to break and unshape. Antichrist? Call him Anti-Creation. He would have his followers, of course. He was a liar. His father was the father of lies. And he would be like a big neon sign to the cowardly and the wicked. Would they win? Would he? God was a gamesman. It was not for her to know. That will be done. Mother? There's some folks that just got here and would like to say howdy, if you ain't too tired. A pretty good crew, I'd say. Fella in charge named Underwood. Ralph Bretner, who was part of Nick's team. Bring 'em up, Ralph. That's fine. Good enough, Mother. Will do. Before you go, Ralph, where's Nick? I haven't seen him today, nor yesterday neither. He getting too good for home, folks. He's been out at the reservoir. Him and that electrician, Brad Kitchener, have been looking at the power plant. I was out there earlier. Figure all those chiefs ought to have at least one Indian to boss around. That made Mother Abagail cackle. She did like Ralph, didn't she? Anyway, that fella Redmond came by while we were working to talk to Nick about being on some committee. Nick wrote a couple of pages, but what it came down to was fine by me if it's fine by Mother Abagail. We'll do whatever she wants. What I want is to go on living free like I always have, like an American. I just want my say when it's time for me to have it, like an American. Well, you'll have all that. Nick and Stu asked me to print up 700 flyers for this meeting they're planning. I told them I'd find the biggest hand-cranked mamograph I could. That's fine. Time everyone got done lollygagging around. Speaking of which, people out by the gate getting heat stroke, while you and me chin like there's no tomorrow. I'll bring them in. And Ralph, print 1,000.
The new arrivals filed in, a group of 19, and Mother Abagail felt her sin, the mother of sin. Pride, the female side of Satan in the human race, the quiet egg of all sin, pride, which had kept Moses out of Canaan. She had always been a proud woman, proud of the floor she washed on her hands and knees, proud of her children that turned out all right, proud of her life, but she had not made her life, and the mothers of children were the daughters of God. Don't forget. And on this fine morning, as the pilgrims filed through her gate, she thought proudly, it's me they must have come to see.
I'm Abigail Freemantle, but most folks around here call me Mother Abagail.
You're really real. We're glad to be here. My name's Larry Underwood. I dreamed of you.
She thought this man seemed a bit green and apt to bend, but she liked him.
I'm Lucy Swan, Mother Abagail. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I dreamed of you too. Would you mind if I asked, 108 last count, though it feels like 216 some day. I'm glad you could come by, Lucy.
Then it was the boy and the woman with dark eyes. The boy was all right, but the woman... He's here, she thought. He's come in the shape of this woman. For behold, he comes in more forms than his own. The wolf, the crow, the snake. For Nadine Cross, the moment was one of confusion. An almost swooning sense of revulsion and terror came over her because the old woman could... what? Could see. He's in her. The devil's imp. Nadine thought, all of their power is right here. She's all they got, although they may think differently. Hello, I'm Nadine Cross.
I know who you are.
This is Joe. Do you know him as well?
I don't think Joe's his name any more than mine's Cassandra. And I don't think you're his mom. What's your name, chap?
He won't, or can't tell you. I don't think he remembers.
Leo Rockway. That's me. I'm Leo.
Come away, Joe. She's old. You'll hurt her. She's very old and not very strong.
It's not my name. Leo. That's my name.
I know who you are.
Yes, and I know you. All right, Leo, or whatever you like. Just come away before you tire her more than she already is. As they moved away from her, Mother Abagail's sense of revelation began to grow fuzzy. She became unsure of what she just felt.
Why were you like that?
Nadine? Can't think. He comes in many shapes. What happened? I was sitting here, waiting to be kowtowed to. No use denying that. But there was something about that woman. Wasn't there? Hey, Mother Abagail. The name's Mark Zellman, from Lowville, New York. I dreamed about you. Then the thread was gone, and she was bantering again.
I had me a great nephew lived in upstate New York, town named Rouse's Point, Lake Champion.
After Zellman, others came to make their manners, including an old man named Richard Ferris, nicknamed the Judge, who almost made her feel uncomfortable again. She spoke to them all, nodded, smiled, but the pleasure was gone, replaced by the feeling, fading, that she had missed something of great significance and might later be sorry. Nick thought better when he wrote, so we jotted down everything that might be of importance. For instance, the
fact that Boulder wasn't like other towns. Oh, there were corpses here, and something would have to be done about them. But it wasn't like the other towns that stank of charnel houses. It was as if, somehow, Mother Abagail had led them to the one city in the United States that was more or less clear of plague victims. Not that it would matter much if they didn't get the power running by the time the first cold snap arrived. If they didn't, Nick was afraid that the gathering flock would begin to slip away, and all the meetings, representatives, and ratifications wouldn't stop them. An unpleasant feeling seemed to be running through the people gathered in Boulder. They were like a bunch of scared kids knocking around in the local haunted house after dark. Luckily, according to Ralph, there wasn't much wrong at the power plant. Possibly, they could have the lights on again by Labor Day. Earlier today, before Ralph went upstairs to sleep, he'd given Nick a copy of the flyer. Ralph had tried to take his name off the flyer and put this fellow Larry Underwood on the committee, but Nick wasn't convinced. He'd have to meet Underwood first. What was holding, so far, was Nick's decision to unilaterally strike Harold Lauder's name from the list of the ad hoc committee members. Nick finished his journaling for the day with 3 words: authority, organization, politics. Nick wasn't knocking Lauder out of the picture because he felt Stu Redman and Glenn Bateman and their team were trying to hog what was really his football. Though hadn't, in a way, he and Tom and Mother and Ralph founded the Boulder Freezone? Alright, it wasn't just that. It was also, on more than one occasion, Nick wondered if Harold Lauder might not be crazy. It's that grin, he thought. I don't want to share secrets with anyone who smiles like that and looks like he isn't sleeping well at night. Nick's body broke out into goose flesh. He suddenly felt that he was part of some bizarre sewing circle of the human race. He and Redman and Bateman and Mother Abagail and Ralph and the others. And they each had a needle, and perhaps they were working together to make a warm blanket to keep off the winter chill. Or perhaps they had only, after a brief pause, begun to make a large shroud for the human race, beginning at the toes and working their way up. After making love, Stu went to sleep and Frannie sat on their porch thinking, I'm starting to show. Not a lot yet, but enough, apparently, to warrant conversation. Earlier, Stu told her about a chat he'd had with Glenn, who advanced the idea, cautiously, that the superflu might still be around and that Fran's baby might, possibly, die upon birth. Count on Glenn Bateman for an unsettling thought or two. What would that mean, though? Well, for one, that all the people left were just an epilogue to the human race, a coda, and Frannie couldn't.
Your name wouldn't happen to be Fran Goldsmith, would it? Holy God, who? Larry Underwood, looking for Harold Lauder. Bearing gifts. Best vintage Bordeaux in this century. As my friend Rudy used to say, God rest his soul. Also, paydays. Harold's favorite. But how did you? That's a story.
He told her about leaving New York and heading north to Maine with Rita, then without. He told her about following Harold's signs in a trail of payday wrappers.
Over the miles, I started to get a sense of Harold. From the candy wrappers and the carving in that bean that old barn in Algonquin.
What carving?
Just his initials, HL.
Larry explained how his group continued to grow as they moved across the country, and how he became their de facto leader. He didn't like the responsibility, he said, and the only way he managed it, whenever he doubted himself, was to ask,
what would Harold do?
Frannie was nearly dumbfounded. She wished she could be there when Larry met Harold. What would be his reaction?
He was in my head, Frannie. And his voice made me think clearly and saved our bacon more than a few times. And now I'm here, and I brought this wine and candy bars. He'll be pleased. You know, I kind of thought he might be your man.
No, not Harold. I should go in now.
It's been nice to meet you, Larry. What is it, Fran? Do I have it wrong about Harold?
No, just, you made me feel as if I treated Harold very shabbily, and can I be blamed for not loving him the way I do Stu?
Of course not. Listen, I'm sorry.
I surprised you. I'll go. He's changed. I don't know why or how, and sometimes I think it might be for the better. But I don't really know, and sometimes I'm afraid. Of Harold? Frannie didn't answer that one. She thought she had already said too much. Instead, she gave Larry directions to where Harold was living, and the two parted, uneasily. In bed next to Stu, thinking about Harold, thinking sleep might not come tonight, Fran sat up. Something had moved inside her. Oh, glory. She would have woken Stu if the baby was his and not Jess's. She would have shared the moment with him. The next baby, she thought, if there is a next baby. Larry Underwood and Harold Lauder were forgotten. One thought crowded all the others from Frannie's mind. Her baby was alive. There were more than 1,000 stars above Harold Lauder, but they weren't lovers' stars. They were haters' stars, stabs from God's ice pick in a sky of black velvet. Wish I may, wish I might, have the wish I wish tonight. Drop dead, folks. Looking better than ever, fitter, his skin cleared up, Harold sat with a book in his lap, a tall volume with marbled blue binding and imitation leather covers. The journal he started keeping after reading Frannie's diary. He'd already filled the first 60 pages, margin to margin, no paragraphs. A solid outpouring of hatred like pus from a skin abscess, begging the question, why did Harold Lauder hate so much? Interestingly, there was a time, for an hour or a moment, when he contemplating jettisoning the hatred, considering turning himself into a new Harold Lauder, shaped by the sharp knife of the superflu. He had sensed, more clearly than any of the others, that people in the Freezone were not the same as they had been before. In the end, though, Harold knew that the seize of the new opportunity for change would have been tantamount to murdering himself. The ghost of every humiliation he had ever suffered cried out against that choice. And meanwhile, there was a dark carnival in the desert, Ferris wheels revolving over a black landscape, a sideshow filled with freaks like himself, a discordant music calling to Harold. In the Freezone society, he could only be Harold Lauder. Over there, in the West, he could be a prince. By starlight, Harold wrote in his journal. He would be leaving soon, a month or two, and then he would head out west and spill his guts about the place. He was sure to be on the Freezone committee, and oh, the secrets he would be privy to. He would be welcomed and rewarded by the man in charge, there with a hate Cadillac, and he and Flagg would drive back together and kick this settlement apart like an anthill. But first, he would settle with Redmond, who had lied to him and stolen his woman. I am on a great adventure.
In one day, by virtue of a single poster cranked out on a mimeograph machine, the Freezone had been transformed from a loose group of refugees into potential voters. The same afternoon the flyers went up, Larry Underwood and Leo Rockway walked west on Arapaho Street towards Harold Lauder's house. If Larry put his hands in his pockets, Leo did the same. Larry kicked a can, Leo kicked a stone, and Larry started to whistle. Leo joined him. For Pete's sake, Larry thought, I'm falling in love with this kid. At the house Frannie had described, Harold Lauder, I presume. My God, is he going to let me have it with that thing? Don't think I know you, friend. Harold's sudden politician's grin was contagious, and Larry, despite the initial shock, found himself grinning back. No, you don't, but I'm acquainted with you. I followed you across the country from Maine. Your signs and candy wrappers. Well, I'll be gone to hell. Come on in with your boy and we'll have a jaw, as my dad was fond of saying. In fact, Leo refused to go inside with Larry and Harold. He didn't want to, he said. He was missing his Nadine mom, he said,
It's all right. Kids are funny, sometimes.
Well, that one sure is. But I guess he's got it right. He's been through a lot.
I'll pass on the candy bars. I'm off the sweets, trying to lose weight. But we've got to have some wine. This is a special occasion. Have a seat on that green chair. There's some good wine glasses in the basement, I think.
He's just a kid. Younger than me, thought Larry, looking around the living room. If he's 18, I'll eat candles on his next birthday cake. Larry noticed a loose stone on the hearth, looking as if it had come out and then been put back, carelessly. Larry was about to fit the stone back into place when he saw there was a book down in the hole, lightly powdered with rock dust. What? Feeling ashamed, like he'd been intentionally prying, he replaced the rock just as Harold's footfalls began to ascend the basement steps. Was the book Harold's? Or did it belong to the previous owner? Upon Harold's return, they cracked open Larry's bottle of Bordeaux. Once they were both pleasantly squiffed. The big meeting on the 18th. How come you didn't get on that committee, Harold? I would have thought a guy like you would have been a natural.
Well, I'm awfully young. Maybe the powers that be wanted someone with more experience. But who knows what lies in the future? Like they say, every dog has its day.
It was only after he'd rejoined Leo outside it occurred to Larry. Harold's was the only house in Boulder where the blinds and curtains were drawn. Unless you were talking about houses of the dead, of course.
So nobody can see in, I guess. And so he can do secret things. Like maybe pray to the dark man.
Do you really think so, Leo?
He's not like us. I think there might be worms inside him, making him smile. Big white worms eating his brains like maggots.
Stu interrupted Frannie's washing with lovemaking. It hadn't been going well, anyway. Hard as Fran tried, it was impossible without a scrub board, and there were none to be found in Boulder. Afterwards, they lingered underneath the building's overhang talking.
Dick wants off the committee. He says until we get a real doctor, he's too busy with the sick.
Just today, he saved a guy who had a gangrenous leg. Dick had to take it off at the knee.
That's awful. And what? It means we need more for the committee?
Ralph's gung-ho for this Larry Underwood guy. And from what you say, he struck you as being pretty handy.
He did. And I met his lady, Lucy Swan. In town earlier, she seems sweet.
You gonna go ask him to join?
I want to.
I need to find out what he thought of Harold before asking him along for the ride.
What is it about Harold?
I lied to him once, you know. The day the three of us met, July 4th, I said, I didn't want you. I think he still holds that against me. I keep reminding myself that he's scared and lonely, and probably feeling rejected now, since he's not on the ad hoc committee. That was one of Nick's unilateral decisions. No one trusts Harold, is the truth. Not with that smile. And Agonquit, he was the most insufferable kid. Then, after the flu, he seemed to change, become more of a man. Then he changed again, all at once. He started to smile all the time, and you couldn't really talk to him anymore. The way people get when they convert to religion or read... Read what? Frannie? Something that changes their life, like Das Kapital or Mein Kampf. Maybe just intercepted love letters? Of course, there's no way to tell if a book had been read. And even if there were a way, there would be no way to tell if that person had been Harold Lauder. And yet, Frannie sent Stu to Larry's, then dug out her diary from the back corner of her closet. The way people get when they convert to religion, or read something that changes their lives, like intercepted love letters. Heart beating wildly, Frannie began turning through the diary's pages. There was no reason at all for her to be thinking of the man in black, with his coat hanger. But she was. Sentences jumped out at her, stutter clicks of the recent past that slapped her. Harold will object on principles, of course. Damn you, Harold. Grow up. Well, you know Harold. All those pompous words, an insecure little boy.
Harold's breath would have driven a dragon away tonight. Harold stores up rebuffs like pirate treasure. My God, Fran, why did you ever say all those things about him? To what purpose? To feel superior? Then, on August 1st, 2 weeks ago, no entry last night, I was too happy. Have I ever been this happy? I don't think so. Stu and I are together. Frannie turned the page to read the rest of the entry. We made love twice, but the words barely caught her eye. Her glance dropped halfway down the page to something that froze her solid. A dark, smeary fingerprint, much larger than her thumb, and not grease or oil, but dried chocolate. Harold and his candy bars. For a moment, she was afraid to turn around, afraid she might see Harold grinning like the Cheshire Cat. Every dog has its day, Frannie. But that was crazy. Even if Harold had sneaked a glance at her diary, did it mean he was contemplating a secret vendetta against her or Stu or the others? Of course not. But an interior voice reminded her, Harold's changed. God damn it! He hasn't changed that much! Frannie flinched a little at the sound of her own voice in the empty room, then went downstairs to get supper started. She and Stu were eating early, as soon as Stu got back from Larry's, because of the meeting, which suddenly didn't seem as important as it had earlier. There's a boy, Leo Rockway, that came across from Maine with us, who kind of sees into people. When I went to visit Harold, Leo wouldn't go into Harold's house. Wouldn't even stand his lawn. After meeting Harold, even though we had a good time, I sort of understood why Leo didn't want to. Yeah, that's Harold for you. Listen, Larry, I've come to ask you to serve on our little ad hoc committee. We need one more, and you come highly recommended. What do you say? Want to ride along? I thought nothing in the world would make me happier than to get here and dump my people and let somebody else take over for a change. Instead, I've been just about bored out of my head. Ah, hell, I say yes. We're having a little powwow at my place tonight to talk over the big meeting on the 18th. Think you can come? Sure. Can I bring my gal, Lucy? Afraid not. Nor talk to her about it. We want to keep some of this stuff close for a while. I'm not much of cloak and dagger stuff, Stu. I agree with you, Larry. But this is wartime. That man we all dreamed about. None of us think he's gone away. Though most of the people here may not be thinking about him. I bet my bottom dollar he's thinking about us. You think that lunatic's after us? That's a nice thought to have just before dinner. Larry, I'm not sure of anything. But Mother Abagail says it won't be over, one way or the other, until he's got us, or we've got him. Point taken. We'll talk about it and keep our mouths shut. From the notes taken by recording secretary Francis Goldsmith. In attendance, Stu Redmond, Francis Goldsmith, Nick Andros, Glenn Bateman, Ralph Bretner, Susan Stern, and Larry Underwood, replacing Dick Ellis. First order of business, voting 7-0 that Ralph should post Dick Ellis's flyer warning against food poisoning. If you eat, you should read this. Up next, forming and formalizing a burial committee to take care of the thousands of corpses throughout the city. Motion carried again, 7-0. Then Nick Andros was recognized, and he related, through Ralph, a discussion he'd had with Mother Abagail earlier. He explained how she believes that all of the survivors are part of a chess game between God and Satan, and that Satan's chief agent in this game is the adversary, Randall Flagg. Also, that she believes she is God's chief agent, and that she wants, whenever the committee's deliberations touch on the Dark Man or the struggle, to be informed and consulted. In this vein, Nick introduced a series of motions. The committee should not discuss the religious and/or supernatural implications of the adversary during meetings, but that we treat him as a real threat. The main, secret business of the committee be how to deal with the adversary, aka Randall Flagg. Mother Abagail to be kept informed of all business transacted by the committee.
Motions passed, 7-0. Then Nick suggested we send 3 volunteers to join the Dark Man's people. The purpose being to gain intelligence about the goings-on in Vegas.
I'll do it. I'll go. Well, that's honorable, Susan. The fact is, we don't know if the people we send will ever come back, or when, or in what shape. In the meantime, this committee has the not inconsiderable job of getting things up and running in Boulder. After some hot discussion, it was resolved, gloomily, that no one from the ad hoc committee will be eligible to volunteer for this reconnaissance. I just hate the idea of sending other people over there. Maybe to be crucified on a telephone pole. We may not like it, but we're the politicians here, and this is the life and death of everyone in Boulder. I never thought I'd be a politician. Join the club. Larry Underwood put forth potential emissary, Judge Ferris. He's the sharpest old guy I met. And for the record, he's only 70. Lively discussion followed, but it was decided that the advantages of sending the judge outweighed the disadvantages. Committee voted aye to asking Judge Ferris, 7-0. I went along with yours, Larry. Maybe you'll go along with my idea? Dana Juergens. She's got more guts than any woman I know. With almost no discussion, committee voted aye, 7-0. Nick went to make his suggestion, to be read by Ralph. Nick, you're crazy. You don't mean it. Just read it, Ralph. Well, it says here he wants to nominate Tom Collin. Uproar from the committee. But Nick argued the same point Larry had about the judge, that just as the adversary wouldn't expect us to send an old man to spy, nor would he expect a person with special needs. That if Tom were given a simple story and told he had to stick to it, Tom would, whatever torture might be inflicted upon him. It wouldn't come to that, would it? Nobody really believes it would come to. Nick has the floor, Frannie. Let him finish. Nick did, by explaining that Tom could be given a post-hypnotic suggestion before being sent out. To return after a certain amount of time, full moon, say. Nick had already tested hypnotizing Tom, with help from a gentleman named Stan Noggetney. It worked like gangbusters. Originally, Nick had the idea because he thought Tom, himself, practiced a kind of self-hypnosis whenever Tom vanished within himself to make sense of something. Nick's last point was that by putting Tom into deep hypnosis upon his return from Vegas, he would have almost perfect recall of everything he saw. Sounds like that old movie, The Manchurian Candidate, to me. Before we voted on Tom, I had my say. Do we really want to take that sweet, foggy boy and turn him into a human U-2 plane? What do we do if they kill him, Nick? If they kill any of the people we send? Breed up a new, improved version of Captain Trips? What Fran brings up affects me deeply. But we're doing all of this for Mother Abagail and her ideas. Also, I know this being, Flagg, is evil. If anyone works up a new strain of the superflu, it will be him to use on us, and I'd like to stop him while we still can. But we're putting our hand on the same switch as Flagg to stop him. Once it's over, even if we win, will we be able to let go of the switch? Let's go around the table. I'll vote aye. Aye. I don't like it much, either. But if Nick's going for it, aye. Nay. Aye. Nay. I think the idea stinks like a pay toilet. This is the kind of stuff you get when you're at the top, I guess. Aye. Motion's carried, 5 to... Wait. I'm changing my vote. If we really are dragging Tom into it, we better do it together. Me too, then. United front. Nixon stands firm, says I. Final vote is 7-0. And let the record show I love this woman, Frances Goldsmith. And on that note, I think we should adjourn. I second that emotion. Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, prepare to have a warm can of beer dumped on your head. The vote to adjourn was carried, 7-0. Coming to bed, Stu? Yeah, I was just... You were right, Frannie. It's a dirty business, sending out spies. The trouble is, Nick was right, too. In a case like this, what do you do? Vote your conscience and then get the best night's sleep you can, I guess. I love you, Fran. She almost said something then. Not about Tom Cullen. She made her peace with that. But Harold's smudged chocolate thumbprint was still on her mind. Every dog has its day, Fran. In the end, Fran didn't mention it. If there was a problem, it was her problem. She would just have to wait, watch, and see if anything happened. It was a long time before she slept. In the early hours of the morning, Mother Abagail was praying. Show me my sin, Lord. I know I missed something you wanted me to see. I can't sleep. I can't take a crap. I don't feel you, Lord. How have I offended thee? She listened for a small, still voice in her heart, but all was silent and dark there. My God, please, my...
Not God, oh woman. Me. I'm coming for you, Mother. We'll run you like dogs run deer. I am all the things you think I am, but more. I'm the magic man, the man who speaks for the latter age. Your own people know me best, Mother. They call me John the Conqueror.
Go! Leave me in the name of the Lord God Almighty! She was afraid in her soul, afraid for her soul.
Your God has no power over me, Mother. His vessel is weak.
No! No! Not true! My strength is the strength of 10! I shall mount up the wings as eagles! This was the terror at Noon Day. The terror that flieth at midnight.
Who brought the water from the rock when we were thirsty? I did. Who saved us when we did faint? I did.
It opened its mouth to swallow her. Its breath was that of a living abattoir.
Oh, fall down and praise my name. I am the bringer of the water in the desert. Praise my name. I am the good and faithful servant who brings the water in the desert. And my name is also the name of my master.
My name. Praise my name, praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, ye creatures here below. Her Bible had fallen to the floor. There was a dim light in the window. Who brought water from the rock when they were thirsty? Oh, my Lord. Was that it? Was that why the scales had covered her eyes and made her blind? Because she'd been prideful? Bitter tears began to roll down her cheeks as she climbed slowly and painfully to her arthritic feet. She turned to look out the window and knew what she had to do. Thy will be done. An hour later, Abigail was walking slowly west on Mapleton Avenue, toward the wooded tangles and narrow-throated defiles beyond town, leaving Boulder behind her. By noon, the news of Mother Abigail's disappearance, days before the Freezone's first all-important town hall meeting, swept Boulder. The community's collective sense was that she must have gone off to pray for guidance. The general mood was more of unhappy resignation than alarm. I must be gone a bit now. I've sinned and presumed to know the mind of God. My sin has been pride, and he wants me to find my place in his work again. I will be with you again, if it is God's will. Abby Fremantle. Except at the power plant, where the efforts to get the juice flowing again were interrupted by Glenn's arrival with Mother Abagail's note. We can't let an old woman wander the friggin' wilderness like some Old Testament guy until she dies of exposure. Slow down, Stu. Let's try and look at the implications of this. If the Pope decides he has to walk to Jerusalem, do you argue with him if you're a good Catholic? To hell with the implications, Glenn. It's not the same thing and you know it. It showers just about every afternoon. If she gets soaked, Mother's sure to take a cold.
Then what? Pneumonia? At her age? Ralph's right. We have to pull together a search party. How far could she have gotten?
Nick wrote in his notepad. Even if you find her, how would you bring her back? Chains?
Of course not. But we can't do nothing.
Nick writes, man proposes, God disposes. Mother A thinks she's being directed by God. What's to do? She's gone. We can't change that.
What do you want, Nikki? Someone stumbling over her body this fall in one of those box canyons west of town? It was her decision to go, Stu. We have to honor that.
I have an idea, Stu thought. Harold's eyes were like the surface of Brackman's quarry back home. The water looked pleasant enough. The 4 boys had drowned in its black depths over the years.
What's your notion, Harold?
We mount our trusty cycles and reconnoiter the area west of Boulder. If we find her, we don't force her to do anything, but we can at least keep tabs on her. Ask if she wants or needs anything, like a ride back to town.
I think it's a hell of a good idea, Harold. If there are no objections,
I'll just swing by home and leave a note for Fran. She'd been at the library in downtown Boulder, reading up on gardening, when she heard about Mother Abagail taking her leave. Fran went straight to the apartment, missing Stu and the others by a few minutes. His note was short. Back by 9:30, I'm with Ralph and Harold. Immediately she worried. A man who would steal your diary, Harold, and pilfer your thoughts might creep up behind someone he hated, Stu, and give him a push right off a high place, or use a rock, or a knife, or a gun. So Harold's house on Arapaho might be deserted until 9:30 tonight. 3 minutes later, biking up Broadway, Frannie was wondering what she would do if she actually found something incriminating at Harold's. The truth was, she had no idea. The house was deserted and locked, except for a cellar window through which Frannie wriggled. Why do you lock your doors, Harold, when everything's free? Because nobody is as afraid of robbery as a thief. The basement had been finished into the kind of rumpus room that Dad had always talked about but never gotten around to doing. With that thought came a sudden wave of homesickness for Algonquin, for the ocean, for the good old Maine hills and pines. If you have to have a cry, Frannie, old kid, old sock, have it later, not here in Harold Lauder's house. Business first. Upstairs, the living room's nicest feature was a fireplace with a stone hearth wide enough to sit on, which Frannie did, looking around thoughtfully. As she shifted, she felt a loose hearthstone under her fanny. My God, Frannie thought, the shades are down at least, and my bike is in the backyard, out of sight. Hello? Is anyone home? The knob of the front door began to turn in frustrated half circles. She could summon nothing to her mind except gibberish. Before removing the mote from the neighbor's eye, remove the pine from thine own. Then, after an excruciating few minutes, and with an indescribable sense of relief, she heard footfalls clicking away from the house down Harold's concrete path. Fran ran down the hall to peek out. She had to see. The cross woman. The one who'd come over with Larry Underwood, she thought. Does she know Harold? 5 minutes later, too nervous to search any further, she boosted herself back through the cellar window on a wicker chair she had pulled over, then moved back to its original position. Once home, she concluded, simply, that she was not the one for housebreaking. Oh, Stu, I need you. Please come home. Later, the hunt for Mother Abagail. Harold asked for Netherland because it was the least likely area to find anything. He didn't think he could walk from Boulder to Netherland in one day, let alone that crazy old bag.
Sunrise Amphitheater. No sign of her. Storm's coming up over here.
Ralph was way up on Flagstaff Mountain, but Stu was in Chautauqua Park, only about 4 miles from Harold.
10-4, Ralph. Harold, you there? Calling Harold louder. You copy, Harold? Harold?
I'm here. I was off to the side. Thought I saw something in a ditch. But it was just an old jacket. Over. Yeah, okay. Why don't you come down to Chautauqua, Harold, and we'll wait for Ralph together. Copy? You like giving orders, don't you, suckhole? I might have something for you. Yes, I just might. Sorry, Stu. I was just wool gathering. I can be there in 15 minutes. Over and out. Harold took a moment. He felt he was at a point of balance. About to shift. He was wearing an army surplus flak jacket for the mountain chill. But also because it hid the Smith & Wesson .38 in one of his zippered pockets. He'd initiated this expedition on the chance that he might be alone with Stu long enough to actually do it. Tonight? Why not? On his way to Netherland, Harold felt a stupendous irrational power coming from the west. So great that he worried it might drive him mad. He felt that if he ventured much further, towards Vegas, self-will would be lost. He would go just as he was, empty-handed. And for that, although he could not be blamed, the Dark Man would kill him. It was 10-7 now. He could waste both Redmond and Bretner by 7:30. Fran wouldn't raise the alarm until 10:30. By then, he'd be well on his way to Nevada. Smiling, Harold Lauder drove towards Chautauqua Park. Nothing, huh? Never mind. Was a good idea. For all we know, she's back at the house right now. If not, we can look again tomorrow before the meeting. Hopefully we won't be looking for a body. Hopefully not. Listen, Harold, why don't you come back to supper with me? What? Supper? Frannie'd be glad to see you too. She really would. I had a thing for her, you know. Maybe it's best if we just let it go for now. Nothing personal, just the two of you belong together, I know that. Your choice, Harold, but the door's open any time. And thank you for pushing that we look for Mother, even if it came to nothing. Will you shake with me? Harold stared at Stu blankly for a moment. Then he took his right hand out of his jacket pocket, seemed to catch on something, maybe the zipper, and shook Stu's hand. Glenn Bateman joined them a few moments later. Harold slipped away from them as quickly as possible, his face strained and white, his voice oddly flat. Stu thought it must have been his disappointment that they hadn't found Mother Abagail affecting him. When he got home, he was on the verge of tears and shaken so bad he could barely get his key in the front door. He wrote in his ledger for nearly an hour and a half, until it was all out of him. His terror and his fury and his frustration, and his resolve was strong again. After putting his ledger away, Harold thought, calmly, how close he had come to mowing Stu down with his .38. That would have put the other members of their sanctimonious ad hoc committee in a mood for their meeting. But there would be other chances. After all, the mark of genius is its ability to abide. So he would. Harold froze. The basement door was standing open. He kept it closed tight. Always. Who's there? In the basement, Harold saw something on the floor beneath the window. A spill of brown grit. And in the grit, as clear as a footprint, the track of a sneaker or a tennis shoe. You'll pay. Whichever one of you it was, you'll pay. But Harold had an idea who it was. He'd have to come up with a better hiding place for his ledger. He knew that. It was a dangerous book, and if someone found it, it was over. He kept thinking of Fran's shoes. Patterns of souls. Patterns of souls. When Harold finally did sleep, he cried out miserably in his dreams, as if to ward off things that had already been let in forever. Meanwhile, Stu and Fran's. Where have you been? I was worried. Stu explained Harold's idea that they hunt for Mother Abagail, to at least keep an eye on her. We would have taken you along, kiddo, but you were nowhere to be found. I was at the library. How did Harold seem?
Pretty well racked. Sorry his idea didn't pan out better. You know, I could really get to like that sucker. I invited him to supper. I hope that's okay by you. Yes. I'd like to be on good terms with Harold. Mother Abagail doesn't show up by tonight. Thought I'd ask Harold if he'd want to go out again with me. I'd like to go too, and there are a few others around here that aren't convinced she's being fed by the ravens. Dick Volman's one. Larry Underwood's another. The search party started out modestly with half a dozen folks, but by dusk, there were better than 50 people combing the brush west of Boulder. The Freezone's mood had shifted to dread. Despite the powerful dreams that accorded Mother Abagail a semi-divine status, most people were still realists. The woman was well over 100 years old, and she had been out all night, all on her own. And now, a second night was coming on. By dusk, a breeze from the mountains was throwing a splatter of rain against the windows of Fran and Stu's apartment. They were both feeling low and unhappy, when Glenn bursts in. Stu! Fran! Oh man, I'm glad you're here. What's wrong, Glenn? Did someone find her? No, it's not bad news. It's good news. But it's strange. You better come over to my place. I came home from looking and he was on the porch, fast asleep. He's really scrawny and he's been fighting. But it's Kojak. I'll be. Say, that's a good boy. Good boy, Kojak. He followed me. That's the kind of thing you read about in Star Weekly. Faithful dog follows master 2,000 miles. How could he have gotten here? Maybe the same way we did. Are you saying dogs do dream, you know? Is that what happened with you, boy? Did you dream about Mother too? In fact, Kojak, who still thought of himself occasionally as Big Steve, which had been his original name, followed the scent of the man all the way to Hemingford home, where 4 wolves came out of the corn like ragged spirits of the dead and set upon him. The fight had been brutal. Indeed, even when Kojak was an old dog, and he would live another 16 years, long after Glenn Bateman died, the wounds he received in that battle would ache and throb on wet days. Kojak killed 2 of the wolves and sent the other 2 scurrying away, before crawling under a porch to hide from an unseen thing that felt like a man and a wolf, and an eye, a dark thing like an ancient crocodile in the corn. Some unknown time later, Kojak emerged from beneath the porch, sure of where to go. And it was not the man's scent guiding him. It was a dream to the west of him chasing rabbits through clover that was wet with soothing dew. Chautauqua Auditorium, the first Freezone town meeting. The turnout was almost total. And for the first time, Larry Underwood got an idea of how large the community was becoming in Boulder. It all came down to this. Mother Abagail would have endorsed all 7 members of the ad hoc committee in one fell swoop. But now, each one of them would have to be nominated and seconded separately. Larry's hands were damp and chilly. In his heart, he heard his mother's voice. There's something left out of you, You'll be fine. Huh? Lucy? Don't be nervous, Larry. Stu began the meeting by introducing each member of the ad hoc committee, one by one. When it was Larry's turn to stand, he thought, once, in another world, there would have been concerts. This kind of applause would have been reserved for Baby Can You Dig Your Man. This wasn't on the agenda, but I wonder if we couldn't start by singing the national anthem. I guess you folks remember the words in the tune. Fran's sweet voice sang the first 3 syllables. Oh, say can. And Larry was suddenly transported back to upstate Vermont, to July 4th, when he awoke, unaware that Rita lay dead in the tent behind him. The other voices joined, including Lucy's, as she took his hand. And Larry was a boy, with his mother in Yankee Stadium, back when all things were still possible. When the singing was over, and applause filled the hall, Larry was crying, like many others. Rita was gone,
Alice Underwood was gone. New York was gone. America was gone. Even if they could defeat Randall Flagg, whatever they might make would never be the same as that world of dark streets and bright dreams. The meeting continued. Stu asked that the Freezone citizens accept both the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as government law. A voice in the back seconded the motion. So, those in favor, say aye. Aye to the rooftops. They like to vote, thought Stu. Good. Now we see if this is going to be easy or hard. The next item on the agenda reads, to see if the Freezone will nominate and elect a slate of 7 Freezone representatives. That means...
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman!
Harold louder. Nick had blocked Harold from serving on the ad hoc committee. Was this his moment of revenge? Was he about to accuse them of a railroad job? Which, in a way, is what they were committing. The chair recognizes Harold Louder.
I'd like to move that we accept the slate of ad hoc committee members in toto as the permanent committee.
A moment of stunned silence among the gathered, among the 7 ad hoc members. Then applause filled the room, again, as cries of, "I second," rang out. Harold planned this, thought Stu. These people may elect us, but they'll remember Harold. Still, he got to the root of this thing in a way that none of us thought of. Not even Glenn. It's pretty damn near a stroke of genius. Well, let's vote then. Those in favor of Harold Louder's motion to accept the ad hoc committee just as it stands as the permanent Freezone committee, please signify by saying aye. Aye, they bellowed, sending the barn swallows above them into a frenzy. Opposed? There was not a single nay in the chamber. So Stu pushed on to the next item on the agenda, feeling slightly dazed, as if someone, namely Harold Louder, had crept up behind him and chopped him on the head with a large sledgehammer made out of silly putty. Stu wondered, suddenly, if he had been wrong about Harold turning over a new leaf. He worried, dimly, that this was the first move of a confidence game Harold was playing with them. Well, they would find out soon enough.